and a very warm welcome to Dot's December webinar, Reading with Dotpad X. I'm your host, Dave Williams. Thank you so much to each and every one of you for joining us for this webinar today that we hope you'll find interesting. We've got some demo for you, and of course we will be taking your questions as well. So stick around, we've got an interesting session ahead. Before we get started, just a little bit of housekeeping. In terms of the questions, if you could just add those to the Q&A section of the webinar, and then we will read those out and get those questions answered for you. And if there is a question for which we don't have an answer right now, we'll take that away and we'll follow up with you on email. Also, just to let you know, this session is being recorded, so we will be making that available to everybody who registered for the session. So if you know somebody who couldn't make it today, that's absolutely fine. They will be able to catch up with the recording afterward. And we have a hard stop no later than 6 p.m. UK, so that's 1 p.m. Eastern time. We won't be running any later than that. And of course, if we get through all the questions, then we might even finish just a little bit earlier as well. Right, I think that's all the housekeeping. I'm sure somebody will remind me if I've forgotten anything. We're going to just take a moment to introduce the team. We know a number of you are joining us for the first time, and so I'm really keen that you get familiar with the team here at Dot. So I'm just going to kind of go round our guys, and I'm going to start with Louise Humphreys, who is our marketing manager. How did I do with the housekeeping, Louise? Did I miss anything?
I don't think you did, Dave. No, brilliant. Well done. Nice to be here, everyone. It's our second webinar, so we're experts now. So thanks for
Yeah,
joining us, and
yeah.
we're
Be
looking
gentle
forward
with
to
us.
yeah, we're looking forward to a good session.
Indeed, yeah, and you'll be keeping an eye out for those questions as they come in on the Q&A, and we'll get to the questions after we've got through our demo here as well. We're also joined, let's have ladies first, by Anat Nolman, who is our US sales manager. Anat.
Hi, everybody. Like Louise said, this is our second webinar and we're feeling a lot more comfortable. If you have any questions related to how to get Dotpad, where to get Dotpad, and anything commercial, feel free to ask and I will get those addressed.
Excellent, and thank you very much. So I see we had a couple of hands go up. So we're not going to be going around and kind of unmuting folks, but if you have a question, please pop it in the Q&A or in the chat, and we will get to that in due course. Right, we're halfway there in terms of introductions. We are also joined in the United States by Tim Hornick. Hello, Tim.
Good morning, everyone. It's Tim here, and I'm looking down the attendee list, and it's great to see so many of our wonderful network of distributors, as well as other folks that we have talked to with all of our conventions that we have done. So just want to say, hey, thank you all for joining us as we learn how to read with the Dotpad X.
Excellent. And last, by no means least, our technical support manager, Gary Redfern-Gray. Gary?
Hi, everybody. Looking forward to a great webinar today. Thanks for coming on.
Good to have you with us. So we've got a wealth of experience. If you're not familiar with my voice, my background's in customer experience and product design and media, community media communication for the last 25 years. So wonderful to be with you. So having met the team, let's talk about the content of this session. So we want you to get the most from your reading experience with the Dotpad X. We last time introduced how to connect Dotpad X with your screen reader of choice. So we're not going to be going over that again this time. But if you've not had hands-on with Dotpad X, it is a highly portable 300 cell multiline Braille and tactile graphics display. And of course, when you are accessing multiline Braille content, depending on your screen reader, one of the reasons you might want to read with DotPad X is to appreciate spatial layout. So that relationship between different pieces of content and understanding the context. You can feel the shape of paragraphs, maybe the indentation or table alignment, vertical alignment within a column. Layout might also be important when reading things like poetry or mathematics or computer code. We'll be giving you some of those examples as we go through the session. We believe that having access to that spatial layout helps with comprehension and makes content faster to read when you can feel the whole block, not just individual lines. And of course, multiline brings tables to life because you're not just reading a single line at a time. We hope that by reading multiple lines and doing less button pushing, that will reduce any fatigue that you might feel when reading electronic Braille. You've got fewer commands to remember and hopefully a more natural reading flow. So true portability in DotPad X, a device weighing just about 2.5 pounds, 1.2 kilos, portable enough to fit in your bag or backpack that you can keep with you at all times. So let's first go to Tim, who's going to show us a little bit about the DotPad X multiline Braille reading experience with the free screen reader for Microsoft Windows NVDA. Tim?
Thank you very much, Dave. I'm going to be sharing my screen here in a moment, and what we'll do is show you just a couple of settings to highlight with NVDA, and then just showing you what it's like to experience a DotPad with Chrome. So give me a
Dave, while Tim is connecting, we've got a question from Rod. Does the touchpad .x have a routing cursor?
Stop share, Alt+S.
Alrighty, folks. Well, right
Video
now we have my screen up, and you should be able to hear my
collapsed.
So all good with that.
Participant.
Okay. So I'm going to switch over to Chrome.
Inc.
And so with DotPad and NVDA, what you would want to do is first check out a couple of settings. And the way that you can do that is go ahead and press the NVDA key plus F.
NVDA menu.
And then over in Preferences, go over to Settings.
Preferences settings. NVDA settings, General.
And then once we bring up the settings, we'll down arrow to Braille.
Speed. Braille 3 of 7.
And then we'll tab over, and there's a few areas we want to look at. One is making sure that the output is to the multi-line display, and then just checking out your Braille tables. And so we'll just tab over 3 times.
Braille property page. Braille display grouping. Edit read-only multi-line DotPad Braille /change. Braille destination. Combo box graphic collapsed.
So this is the first here we want to make sure it's set to that graphic display, because you do got the option between the graphic display and the single line display. And let's face it, we are accessing the DotPad because we want to have multi-lines of Braille. And so we just want to make sure that's enabled. And then we could tab over again to go and verify that the tables that we are using is the ones that we wish to use.
Output table. Combo box unified English Braille code grade 2 collapsed Alt+O.
And there we go, where make sure that it is in my desired Braille output. So go ahead and hit escape since those are the settings I want and get back over to Chrome.
Inc. Tactile Braille displays and breaking barriers with technology. Google Chrome window. Inc.
And of course, as you heard, I'm on the DotPad landing page at dotincorp.com, and I'm just going to go down to the top of the page with heading navigation.
DotPad X heading level 2.
And then from here, I'm going to be moving my entire hands and focus over to the DotPad itself to go and then interact with this content by just using those left and right panning keys as a way of just navigating through the content like so.
Heading level 3. The future of tactile technology is here. The DotPad X is a groundbreaking multiline Braille and tactile graphics display. Blank, with its powerful 300-cell tactile graphics display paired with a 20-cell Braille display, the DotPad X lets users explore shapes, maps, and text with a level of detail and clarity never before possible.
And I was controlling that strictly by using the navigation buttons, in particular the panning left and right arrows to go through that, able to read the information as NVDA was outputting it to the DotPad. And that's just a basic way of reading with the DotPad. There's going to be more features coming soon through our add-on that we'll be releasing through the NVDA add-on store. That once we release that, we're definitely going to be doing a deep dive into fully leveraging all of the capabilities of the DotPad with NVDA. So, Dave, kicking it back over to you.
A couple of important points to pick up there. The first one, of course, you may wonder why we have a single line Braille display and the multi-line Braille display. This is one of the questions that people often ask about DotPad. The single line 20-cell Braille reading line respects the original proportions of Braille. So those dot distances conform to internationally recognized specifications. So when you're reading that 20-cell Braille reading line, it's going to be instantly familiar. We can also use that reading line to display labels of images or alt text or descriptions when using .canvas, and we'll cover that in a future webinar. The multi-line display, which is really designed for tactile graphics, has an equal distance between all the dots. And the Braille purists among you will know that that means that Braille characters are going to be slightly further apart when we show them on the multi-line display. Now, everybody tells us that when they read those multi-line sort of Braille and the Braille characters are slightly further apart horizontally, that is not a showstopper. And in fact, it is a benefit for beginners who might be still getting used to tracking and used to differentiating and discriminating between Braille characters. So you have the choice. Basically, you can have that kind of wider, slightly wider spacing in between the Braille cells with the benefits, of course, of the multi-line and then accurate graphics. Or you can, if you choose to, just read from the 20 cell. But I suspect that most people, if you're going for a DotPad, you're probably going to want to read from the multi-line. The other thing to say as well, with your screen reader, we covered connection last time, but you'll want to take a moment to just check your screen reader's Braille settings to make sure that you're getting the optimal Braille output for you. I read Unified English Braille, grade 2, so contracted Braille, and that's the Braille code that makes sense to me. That's the official code where I am, and it may be where you are too. But if your screen reader has other codes available, which most of them will, then make sure that you choose the Braille code that matches your own reading preferences. Right. Without any further ado, then, we're going to head on over to Gary Redfern-Gray. So you heard some very basic Braille support in NVDA, and that's been there since NVDA 2025.1. But in September of 2025, JAWS for Windows, perhaps the choice for many people in employment settings, introduced their multi-line support. And we are going to be doing a bit of a deeper dive on JAWS in a future webinar. But for now, I'm going to hand over to Gary, who's just going to show us how you might go about reading multi-line Braille in JAWS and some of the benefits and some of the things that you need to be aware of there. Gary.
Okay.
Screen sharing meeting controls.
Okay, so hopefully I have now shared my
Your internet
screen,
connection is unstable.
and hopefully
Participants
you're
can now
able
see your
to see my screen if you can, and you can hear my audio. So this section, as Dave has just said, is going to be about JAWS and the reading experience with a DotPad. Now, when you use or if you just go back and to see what it was like with a single line display, normally when you're using a single line display, you get the Braille on the display, which is the line that the cursor is on. So no more than that. So that's obviously been very helpful over the several decades that we've been doing this. When JAWS updated in the autumn with multiline, what it did was it enhanced that. So I'm now going to go to a sample file.
Weather patterns in Central Florida. /word to move to an item. Press.
And what I've got now is a file about weather patterns in Florida, and this has got some text at the top of it. I'm just going to,
Quick keys on.
so it's got some text at the top of it.
Top blank heading level 1 weather patterns of Central Florida experiences a unique and dynamic range of weather patterns influenced by.
So what you'll have just heard is the first line of that text. So, and it finishes at the words influenced by. But I've got several more lines on the dot pad. So rather than just showing the line that the cursor is on, JAWS is looking ahead in the document to see what other text there is, and it's bringing that to the dot pad as well. And so what I have in front of me is a full page of Braille, not just the line that the cursor is on. And if you've used a Braille display before, you'll hopefully understand how amazing that is. And then I can press the panning key. So as we explained last time, the dot pad has got 6 buttons on the top, and the left and the right buttons are in JAWS used to pan, and they will pan by page. So you read the first page, and then you just press the panning key, and then it will move to the next page. So that's very, very helpful in terms of being able to get the context. You get better context to the Braille because you've got more of it. You're pressing pan key less often. And when you press the panning key,
Its subtropical climate and proximity to both this region is characterized.
The cursor will then move along with you whilst you do that. Now, the other thing that this, the other trick that JAWS has got up its sleeve, which is amazing, is that if you go to a table, so rather than reading across the page, if you go to a table, it understands that you're on a table, and then will try and show you as much information in a given column rather than across the column. So I'm going to
table 1, uniform table, new cell. Out of table, heading level 1, average temperatures for St. Petersburg.
So average tables, average patterns for St. Petersburg.
Table 1, uniform table, new cell, month.
Now this is a good example. If I use the speech, you can hear as I go down this. So the first column is a month column. So as I go down this column,
new cell January, new cell February, new cell March.
So that is what it's like with speech and with a single line Braille display. You would see just the data in the cell that you're in.
New cell February, new cell January.
But what I have on the dot pad, I have January, February, March, April, May, June, July. So I can see the data, a lot more data in that column. And I've not had to do anything for JAWS to do this. It's just recognized that I've been in a table, and then it's reformatted what I see on the dot pad to take account of that. And then when I press the panning key to the right now, and I'm now in the second column, which is the high air temperature, I now can see all those numbers, 70, 71, 77, 81. So I'm seeing the data in a column, and as I can move down and see more of that column, but the panning keys will take me column by column, and that's really fantastic. As well as that, so JAWS will do the same thing if you're in a spreadsheet. So I'm just going to
screen sharing me timetable sample.xls.xlsd dash protected view dash
so
Excel.
now I'm in an Excel
home,
spreadsheet.
9 o'clock A2,
and again
10 o'clock A3, 11 o'clock A4,
that's what you would get if you were using speech, or if you were, and again, if you were in the Braille, you would just get one line. But what I can see is the time's 11:30. I can see 1 o'clock. So I can see 2 o'clock, and then I can see where that column ends, and then the column to the right is a timetable spreadsheet. So I can press the panning key, and now I can see which column I'm in. I'm in the Monday column, and I can see they've got biology and free and English and social studies. I hope you'll agree that that is a lot easier to understand the layout of the spreadsheet, because JAWS is able to show you what is in a given column on the dot pad. And for the different sorts of information, depending on what you do, I mean, I am a software developer, so
weather pad screen sharing meeting star import random dash notepad leaving tape.
It's got a spot of Python in the file here. And in Python, which is a programming language, I'm working with a student now who's learning Python, and it's a very popular language that's being taught in schools and is used in industry. The indentation is really, really, really important.
Random.
What you can see, I mean, I can see the indentation because I'm getting a page of Braille. I can see, for example, I've got some Python on the screen here, and I can see that there's a variable that is set called number, and I can see that it's indented. So once you're writing code, you need to know whereabouts on the line that code starts. And if you get that wrong, your program won't work. So with the dot pad, it's much easier to see what's going on because you've got that context. The other thing that you can do, though, which is worth mentioning, is that you have a set Braille dialog box, so you can press F1 and F4 on the dot pad.
JAWS professional dash subscription. Select Braille view dialog. List 1, list view, wrap mode, 1 of 9. To move the items, use the arrow key.
Here's where you can do this yourself. So when we were in Word, we saw that JAWS would automatically see that you're in a table and flip that over to show you what's in a column. But if you wanted to go from having JAWS automatically format your text to being able to enable it to keep the formatting in the document,
crop mode, 2 of 9.
You can go to what they call cropped mode.
Enter. Star import random dash notepad. Edit contains text. Type in text.
And now it will show you the first part of each line. So it's not going to try and show you the whole of every line. But the cropped mode is fantastic for being able to see the indentation, particularly for like a piece of Python like we're looking at right now. So that gives you a kind of idea of what JAWS multi-line mode is all about and why it's useful. It gives you more context. It gives you less cognitive load. And it's absolutely fantastic. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop back to you, Dave.
JAWS profession timetable weather pad screen sharing meeting controls.
Thank you very much, Gary. Appreciate that indeed. Wow. So that was really quite taking advantage of that multi-line environment by showing you the shape of paragraphs or computer code, but then when you're in a tabulated scenario like a table in Word or a spreadsheet in Excel, you have options about how that content is rendered, and obviously that's going to be particularly useful in the workplace if you're using JAWS. The question and answer section is coming, so I know that we have received some questions already. Thank you very much for those. We will be getting to them in due course, so if you have a question and you want to get that in the queue, then use the question and answer section of the webinar to submit that, or you can pop that in the chat as well, and we'll be going to Louise in a little while, who is going to be taking care of those questions, at least in terms of asking them, and we will put those to our team. Just before we do that, I just very quickly wanted to mention VoiceOver on iPhone and iPad OS. And last week we looked at, how you go into settings, and not last week, it was last month. Time flies. You go into your accessibility settings and VoiceOver and Braille, and then you choose DotPad from there, and you can choose your Braille code and any other Braille settings beside. And I think the key thing in terms of multiline Braille support in iOS is the choice and the range of content that you have available to you. So right now we don't have some of those structured layout features that we've seen in JAWS on the desktop, but what we do have is a nice kind of multi-line reading experience with apps like Kindle. So I've got my book here in Kindle on my phone, and what a lot of people do is a 3-finger double tap to turn off the speech so that the phone is quiet, and then we have 8 lines of Braille in the multi-line part of the DotPad. And when you're using VoiceOver, you're using the arrow keys will pan the single line display, and then F1 and F4, so just in from those arrow keys, will pan the multi-line display. And I'm doing that now. So this is giving me content from my book. And if I keep going and I get to the bottom of the page, then the next page will load on my phone. But what I would say for VoiceOver, for the most part, if you want to do more advanced navigation, I would recommend using the gestures on your device. So, for example, if you wanted to flick between pages in Kindle, then you'll probably want to do a 3-finger flick to the left to go to the next page in Kindle, and similarly if you wanted to go back. So you've got some basic navigation available to you there. I'm also just very quickly going to show Dolphin Easy Reader. So this is a free app that connects to multiple accessible libraries around the world, and you can download EPUBs from those libraries. And when you do that, if you're running VoiceOver, Easy Reader will prompt you to go into Braille reading mode, and so this gives you a little bit more accuracy when it comes to returning to your place. And so if you've downloaded a book from your accessible library, so the book I have here, this is Shakespeare's Twelfth Night from RNIB reading services that I've downloaded. And while obviously I don't get quite the structure that Gary was showing us, what I am getting is a multi-line reading experience, so I can read up to 8 lines at a time, and then just press that F4 to jump forward to the next part. So to summarize, the major screen readers, NVDA, JAWS and VoiceOver all have multi-line Braille reading support. Your mileage is going to vary very slightly in terms of what the buttons will do. We recommend that you take some time to work through your Braille settings. NVDA is going to give you a nice free option in any Windows device, and that will run NVDA 25.1 or later. JAWS, of course, will give you all those more advanced structural support, so you can take advantage of tables. And in VoiceOver, it's really about choice and portability, because obviously you can take your phone or your iPad in the bag with your DotPad. The bag is designed to carry a mobile device as well, so that you can take that with you and have lots of reading choice when you're on the move. So that brings us to the end of our demo and our presentation. So what we're going to do is invite Louise to unmute and to share some of your questions. I think we've received quite a few, Louise.
We have, right. So the first one can we help Luke explain to a customer in what ways the integration of Braille text and tactile graphics side by side enhance usability?
Okay. Feel free to chime in, Tim or Gary. So I guess the question is it how to have text and graphics displayed simultaneously? In which case, that's probably more a dot canvas scenario than a screen reader scenario at this point. Is that fair, gentlemen, would you say?
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Yes.
Um,
I
yeah, and just to say that the fact that it is possible to do Canvas now, which means that we can prepare content. So we are now able to help people with tactile, with that whole tactile graphics side of things. So um, yeah, it is definitely Canvas, and we're not quite there with screen readers yet, but that's the next step that we're looking at for the screen reader integration.
Tim.
I would also add, Luke, send me an email at Timothy, that's TIMOTHY at dotincorp, DOTINCORP.com. And we can have a chat offline just about that question in further detail, because there is a lot to get into that, especially when we start talking about sales and just ways of talking about it in those types of settings. And so
Yeah.
just send me an email at timothy@dotincorp, and we'll get you taken care of, man.
I think the main benefit right now when it comes to Braille and tactile graphics working together is when you're in Canvas, you can have the description of your image on the single line display. So the image is displayed in the kind of the multi-line area, but then you have your alt tag, or more detailed information on the single line, and you can pan through that, and you can have as much information as you like and keep panning through that while your tactile image stays visible on the multi-line area.
Is it worth mentioning, Dave, some of the things that we're looking at in terms of integration with things like PowerPoint and Office products to bring some of this integration? It's not here yet, but we've got all kinds of interesting things that we're looking at in terms of how we can make that an easier option for customers.
Absolutely. Lots of stuff in the pipeline, and if we get time, we'll talk about perhaps .book as well. We'll come back to that. I know we've got plenty of questions, so hopefully that answers yours, Luke, and you'll connect with Tim, and we look forward to staying in touch. Louise.
All right, so we've got a couple from Matthew that are, I guess, in a similar vein of how did the two different displays work side by side. So Matthew's asked, can I set up the split Braille features of JAWS so that the multi-line display is region 1 and the single line display is region 2?
Gary?
Okay, so not quite, but split Braille, and I didn't go into it, but yes, split Braille is marvelous with JAWS. What you do is, but you split the multi-line display only, and then you can say how many lines you want that to be. So rather than having just one line for your split line, you can have 4 lines if you want. You can have 4 lines for your split region and 4 lines for your non-split region, and then you can pan them independently. Yes, so it's very good.
And
Okay.
Gary, is it worth adding that the reason for that is that the single line in JAWS is showing status information?
Yeah, so the single line is used for status cells, but the other thing that it shows you on the single line is whereabouts in the multi-line the cursor actually is. So if you're reading and trying to find out whereabouts is that, you can see that your cursor is on dot pad line 8 character 5, for example. So that's the sort of thing that the single line will show you, but all the action really happens on the multi-line with JAWS.
And just a reminder as well, we are going to do a bit of a deeper dive on JAWS in a future webinar. So do look out for the announcement on that if you're specifically interested in JAWS.
Okay, there was one more question from Matthew about JAWS, and it may be that you've indirectly answered it. So he says, say I'm using JAWS and DotPad is showing a whole page of text. The cursor will presumably be in the top left-hand corner. If I press the down arrow key to move down by one line, will the cursor move without refreshing the display, or will the entire display refresh so the cursor remains at the top left?
Gary?
Good question. So the cursor will move down and the display will not refresh because JAWS are smart enough to realize that Braille which you want to see is already on the display. So yes, it will move down line by line until it gets to the bottom line of the display, and then this display will refresh.
Okay. All right. So can the DotPad show pictures or graphics with JAWS like it does on the iPhone?
Not yet.
Who was that from?
It's just been answered.
Okay. So
Sorry.
yeah, it's a great question, and
By Randy. Randy Mayer.
Yeah, Randy. So not yet, Randy. We hope that will be coming. Yeah.
Okay. Right, next question. So can you speak to how the various screen readers handle paragraphs? For example, am I going to feel a blank line because that is what is shown in print, or is there an option to show paragraphs with a 2-cell indent?
Well, I am looking at VoiceOver just now, and I'm in the Dolphin Easy Reader app, and my paragraphs there are indented by 2 cells. So the screen reader has recognized that it's a paragraph and it needs to be indented. And I get that same experience when I'm reading in Kindle on iPhone as well. And let's go to you, Gary. What happens in JAWS with paragraphs?
Well, again, that depends. So if you're in wrapped mode, then paragraphs, JAWS will try and reformat the text so you try and get as much as possible. But I believe that paragraphs will start on a new line. So paragraphs will start on a new line. It's not going to leave a blank line. However, if you are in cropped mode, and I did mention the fact that if you don't like that wrapped mode, or you want your DotPad to be more closely attuned to the format of your text, you can then manually go into cropped mode by using the Braille settings dialog box. And we briefly touched on that. Then you will see your document laid out as you've put it. So if you've used a blank line, you'll see that blank line. If you've used a couple of spaces, you'll see a couple of spaces.
Tim, did you want to add anything?
And
in respect?
Yeah, this is one of the beauties that I do love about the DotPad is it is so much based on what settings we have within our screen reader. So within NVDA, if you go back over to that Preferences Braille set of menus, and if you tab through that, you'll find where you got 2 options for paragraphs. One's going to be how it handles it, and the other part is going to be whether you want that to have no annotations, 2-cell, or Hilcrow, to determine how you want that to start, because ultimately it's on your settings for your screen reader that is feeding the DotPad. And this is just the beauty of it, where it's not so much the DotPad's fault as much as it's understanding what settings we got available with our screen readers.
Yeah, so some differences there and some similarities, but hopefully that covers the question. Thank you.
Okay, we've got a question from Martin, and again, it might just be a variation on what you just answered, Tim, but Martin has asked, how does the DotPad put up with NVDA's extended Braille?
Yeah, is that an add-in, I think, the
Yes.
extended Braille add-in? So that's probably out of scope for this. So we're talking about the default DotPad support that you get built in with any copy of NVDA from 25.1 and later. Obviously, if you start playing with add-ins, your mileage is going to vary. Anything else to add to that, Tim?
No, that's pretty much what I was going to say as well, where it's so much of it is going to be based on what that possibility is. And this is one where when we do that deep dive with NVDA, and trust me, there's a lot of fun that we can do with NVDA, that's going to be a great one to dive into some of these additional functionalities. And even if you got some of the add-ons that you wonder how it works, shoot us an email with those saying these are the add-ons you are looking at, and we'll go ahead and add that to the queue.
info@dottincorp.com, and we'll repeat the email address at the end and all the ways that you can get in contact as well.
I also pasted the email address in the chat.
Oh, thank you, Anna.
So moving on to some other things, other subjects. So does the DotPad X allow you to convert music notes to Braille?
So the DotPad is a display, right? And so we display whatever your screen reader or app like Canvas will give it. So DotPad itself doesn't do any music conversion. Gary, I mean, you're a musician. Any thoughts on this?
Yeah, so absolutely right, Dave. The DotPad is a display. It won't convert anything for you. However, it is possible to prepare music scores so that they show nicely on the DotPad. I have a piece of Mozart and a few pieces of Bach, and it's nice. I can take my DotPad to my piano and I can sit there and I can learn from the music, and it's really just like learning from a piece of Braille music. So we do.
Maybe this is a good time, Gary, to talk about some of the things we've been working on. Some of these DotPad reading apps that you've been working on and we've been testing of late.
Yes. So the first thing is that with a screen reader, because it's 8-dot Braille all the time, and because oftentimes you have a cursor underneath your Braille letter so that you can know where you are and so that you can edit a document. The reading experience you get is not quite as optimal as if it would be if you know that you've got a 6-dot Braille file. You're not fussed about seeing a cursor in the actual Braille file. Then you can make adjustments and you can get even more Braille. You can get 10 lines rather than 8 lines on a DotPad. And so we have been working on some apps at Dot. So DotBook is an iOS app which will enable you to load a BRF file into it. So if you're a member of any site that has lots of BRF files that you would typically download those, you can load those into DotBook and get a really nice reading experience. Likewise, there's a Windows BRF reader. So if you want to do that on Windows, we're doing the same thing there as well. And if you, again, want to know how we could prepare music scores for DotPad, again, info@dottincorp.com, and we can let you know the details on that.
Yeah, so drop us a line. But if you have the music in a BRF, there's a chance that one of those projects might be helpful. But you're probably not going to be doing too much Braille music with your screen reader at this point, Gary. Is that right?
Yes, I don't think it's quite there yet.
Right. Okay.
Okay. Rod has asked, does the DotPad X have a routing cursor?
It does not. So if you want to position the cursor, you would use your regular screen reader navigation commands in order to do that.
Okay. So then there's a couple more questions in the vein of usability. So can we scroll by rows instead of columns, presumably in a table?
Yes. Certainly, if you're in Excel, you can press a down arrow. That will scroll to the next row. And again, you have keys on the DotPad, which I won't go through right now, but you can navigate by row and by column from the DotPad itself.
I think there's a list, isn't there, Gary, of the JAWS button assignments on the DotPad,
Yes.
and we can probably share that via email.
So there's a
Okay.
manual that explains all the dot pad button assignments.
Okay, there's probably a couple of just quick ones we could answer those. So can you freeze a heading in Excel? Do we know?
Oh, that's a good one.
Yes, I think when you're actually in JAWS and you're in a column, I think that any headings stay at the top. So as you move down that column, you can still see the heading for the column that you're in, even though you might be 30 rows down.
But the heading
Okay.
will need to have been marked as a heading, presumably, Gary?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And can we pan by one line as opposed to one page? These are all from Jean-Claude, these questions.
I'm not sure you can. That I would need to check.
So you obviously could from your keyboard, but we'd have to check the list of
So yes, you can
JAWS
move the
button
cursor
assignments.
down one line, but if the cursor is, can I move the whole, can I scroll the whole dot pad page by one line? I'm not sure you can do that, but I will need to check.
Okay.
Okay. Should we come back? Do you want to pop that in an email, perhaps, to info@dottingcorp.com, and we can follow up on that one?
Okay. So staying in the tables and graphs, Elijah has asked, is there a way to create graphs that can be displayed on the dot pad X like you can on the Monarch? For example, typing an equation and generating a graph of it that I can feel for maths classes.
Mm. Well, there are a number of projects that are tackling this. Gary, I heard you do an intake of breath.
Yes, I was just going to say what you just said is that we're very aware that that's a popular use case, and there are a number of projects which are quite far on. And if I tell you that I've seen the dot pad do it, it's not ready for production yet, but yes, it is. It's something that we're working on, and we're wanting to make it so it's really easy to do. So again, watch this space.
Okay, great. Can a Braille keyboard be used with the dot pad, such as the Hable with iPhone or JAWS? That question is from Randy Meyer.
Well, the short answer is the keyboard connects to your host device. So if you have an HID keyboard, whether that's an Orbit Writer in the correct mode or a Hable One, that would connect to your phone or your iPad, and then you could use the dot pad for output. So the dot pad is a display designed for output. But yes, you might choose a workflow that involves a keyboard that connects to your host device, and we've received reports of a number of people doing that. Chaps, anything to add?
Yeah, I'll pick up this a little bit too, because there's a lot of unique functionality. And me personally, I do have a Hable One remote, and yes, on my iOS device, I'm able to use that Hable One both as a input as well as a controller for VoiceOver. And I will caveat by saying that the Hable One, when it is connected through those Bluetooth settings, it's not acting as if it's like a Perkins-style keyboard, so you're not going to get all of those advanced functionalities. We have seen individuals that have been able to use, as they've indicated, the Orbit Writer and be able to get some advanced functionalities that way, as well as another fun thing that is possible in iOS 26 is going to be if you did connect a keyboard over to like your iOS device or your iPad. And by keyboard, I do mean like your Apple Magic Keyboard or other keyboard. You got that wonderful new voiceover mode where you could press voiceover plus Y to bring up Braille keyboard mode, and then you could in essence turn any traditional QWERTY keyboard into a keyboard like a Perkins style keyboard with your iOS device. And so those are all unique functionalities of accessing voiceover in particular in that capacity with that functionality.
Yeah. So in a technical sense, your keyboard does not connect to .pad, but you can adopt workflows that involve a keyboard that connects to your host device.
Okay. David is just asking for a bit more clarification on how the DotPad X works with Kindle on iOS. He's asked, does F1, F4 move through the pages?
Yes. Yes, it does, David. Yeah. So as you press F4, you get a screen of Braille at a time. So you get 8 lines of Braille at a time until you reach the bottom of the page, and then you press F4, and VoiceOver then turns the page in the Kindle app, and you're at the top of the next page. Now, if you wanted to flick through page by page and you wanted to see the top of each page, so you were looking for a specific page, then I would recommend that you use the VoiceOver gesture, the 3-finger flick left, that will take you to the next page in Kindle on iOS.
Okay. Elijah has asked, what is the size of the dot matrix, the width and the height for displaying graphics? The website says it's 20 by 10 cells, but it is unclear how many dots this means because Braille cells have spacing between them.
Okay, so there are 300 cells. So we've been talking about multiline Braille, right? And so with all the required spacing that a screen reader would normally want for highlighting and cursors and so forth, typically your screen reader is going to show 8 lines of 20 characters on that display. But obviously when you're using a graphic, all the pins are available. So there are 240 pins in total on the display. So I think that's he's going to get himself in trouble here. Somebody help me out with the maths. But I think it's 30 pins across, and then I think that's going to be.
So yeah, it's 60 by 40, isn't it?
Yes,
60 dots across and 40 dots
30
down.
cells. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, so 60 dots across and 40 dots down. So you've basically got 300 Braille cells, but 2,400 dots. Hopefully that answers the question. If that's not clear, come back to us.
Okay. And the last question I think we've got, really, it's not strictly this session, but Randy said he received his dot pad a week ago. It's impressive. How do I get dot canvas to work on my iPhone?
Okay, well, we will definitely do a dot canvas session, and we'll walk through that. But dot canvas, in short, is a free app that you download from the App Store, and then you have to sign up for an account and log in, and at that point you will have access to a library we call .cloud. There's a private and public area, and then there's a canvas where it's possible to draw on screen and have that appear on your pad. But we'll do a deeper dive into Canvas in a future webinar.
Okay, I think that's all of our questions, Dave.
Brilliant. Thank you so much, everybody. Wonderful questions, a lot of engagement. Really appreciate you showing up and asking those. And if we didn't get to your question or you want to follow up, then don't forget, of course, that email address, info@dottingcorp.com. That's info@dottingcorp.com. And before I thank the guys, I just want to ask Louise, do you want to share details for how folk can stay in touch with us in between the webinars, perhaps on the socials?
Yeah, absolutely. So we regularly update our LinkedIn and our Facebook pages. So if you're not already following us on either of those, then please look up Dotting Corp in both Facebook and LinkedIn. We have a YouTube channel, which is _inc. So you can find us on there. And we are sending out now regular newsletters. So if you want to just drop a line and say you would like to be a subscriber to our newsletter, if you're not already, then we can add you in. So far, we've sent the November edition, and the December one will be going out next week. We will be having another one of these events in January. So if you want to sign up now, then we'll ensure you're invited to our January event as well.
Okie dokie. And January, I think we're going to be looking at JAWS in a bit more detail. And at the moment, tentatively, we're hoping that's going to be on the 12th of January. So you might want to make a note in your diary, but we will confirm that in an announcement in the newsletter. Also, little plug for the podcast as well, connecting you with the people and the ideas and the technology shaping the world of Braille and tactile literacy. If you just search for Raising the Dots wherever you get your podcast. You can even ask your Alexa to say play the latest episode of Raising the Dots, and you should get that. And there'll be a new episode coming later this week, just in time for the holiday season. Right, brilliant. Thank you very much to our tech experts, Gary Redfern-Gray and Tim Hornick. Really appreciate both of you. Any final remarks on reading with .pad X?
I just want to add, Dave, that if you're in the US, or all over the world, we go to quite a bit of events. So if you want to see .pad in person in the US, we will be at CSUN and ATIA. And we also have a network of a global network of distributors. So if you wanted to get a little bit more of a personal hands-on, contact us and we'll put you in contact with the nearest distributor to you, or come and visit us at the webinars. And we have a blog where we include all of the physical events that we attend. So we would love to see you there.
Okie doke. Well, we would love to hear how you are using your .pad X and how that's going and what's working for you, or if you've got any questions or comments, things that you need us to take a little bit of a closer look at. Do stay in touch. Check out Jackie Brown recently wrote a fabulous piece about reading with .pad X, which we were all really inspired by, because I think she basically reconnected with her Kindle library and was able to read books with her grandchildren, and that's what it's all about, those experiences, being able to do the things that we want to do with Braille, with the content that we want on whatever device we want. So thank you so much, everybody. Appreciate all your time. We've got to shoot, but have a safe and wonderful holiday season. Hope you managed to get a little bit of downtime, but from myself, Dave Williams, and the rest of the team here at DOT, until next time, bye for now.